Great. Okay, I call to order the 6 June 2023 Planning and Zoning meeting to order. And can you join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? And I'll have Commissioner Charbonneau lead us in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, can we get a roll call?
Okay, roll call. Holman.
Here.
Charbonneau.
Here.
Verhey.
Here.
Hornseth.
Present.
Monaco. Staggs. And Chair Sullivan.
Here.
All right, you have a quorum.
Okay, great, thank you. Well, now we have citizens' comments, but it doesn't appear we have any citizens. Is anybody out there?
There's nobody signed in.
Okay, we're good to go. Does anybody else want to speak? Nope, all right. Okay, what we'll move on to is the approval of the agenda and consent agenda. I will need a motion and a second, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, can we have a roll call?
Okay, voting on the approval of the agenda and the consent agenda. Charbonneau.
Yes.
Holman.
Yes.
Monaco. Staggs. Verhey.
Yep.
Hornseth.
Yes.
And Chair Sullivan.
Yes.
Okay, your agenda and consent agenda have been approved, and approved on the consent agenda is the May 9th, 2023 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting minutes.
Okay, great, thank you. Next, we have special orders, presentations, and reports, and we don't have any special orders, reports, or awards. So what I'll do now is turn it over to the city administration. Jason, what you got for us?
I did put an administrative report in there. I'm going to do a little bit better job of, I'm going to be taking my city manager report that goes in there and then kind of dissecting it, breaking it up for you guys, just to keep you guys a little bit better informed about what kind of some of the major activities of our department. And so just, there's some notes about the short-term rental compliance. And there's a GIS specifically just because that is kind of a major, that's what Selena's kind of dedicated to working on for the most part. And then Courtney's also working on some of those items as well. And then you can just see some of the other work in regards to the work for the Muni Land Plan, Public Safety Feasibility Study. And so anyway, I'm just going to do a little bit better job. And then if you want to see any other information, just let me know. And if you have any questions on those types of items, just let me know.
Okay, commissioners, do you have any questions? I do have one question, though. How much of a confirmation for the short-term rentals are moving along in terms of people coming into alignment? That you're saying that you've got that here where you're using these, you had different people trying to bring them into compliance and some of them using improper use of property and some violations. Are they coming in or are you having to do some more battling?
I would say for the most part, everyone complies really well. With just some of the changes this year, it just took people a little bit longer to get some things like insurance in. But other than that, I'd say for the most part, but we do have a couple that are really, like when they are difficult, they're usually very difficult. And so we're dealing with a couple of those. But overall, I would say if you look at the industry as a whole, they're very, very compliant. It's just that you have a few that want to be difficult.
Okay. All right, thank you. From there, what I'll do is, we're moving on to, I guess at this point, unless any commissioners have anything else to say, I guess to move on to the public hearings. And what I'd like to do is have the first and only public hearing we have today is Resolution 23-014. Mr. Clerk, could you read the title into the record?
Resolution 2023-014, a resolution of the Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Seward, Alaska, recommending the City Council amend portions of Seward City Code 15.10.222 Development Requirements, Table Notes, Letter E. And can I get a motion and a second?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-014.
I'll second.
Okay. All right, we have no public hearings, so nobody is here at this point in time. Administration, do you have any anything to add?
Yeah, so many of you probably recognize this resolution last year. You approved a similar resolution and it went to City Council for their approval, but they pushed it back to us because it did not get the proper public hearing at this level, and at the planning and zoning level. So we're bringing it back through as a public hearing item. And it's essentially the same. The one difference from before is that I noticed as I was putting it together this time is that Harbor Commercial was not listed in Table Note E at all for requiring a minimum of 9,000 square feet. I don't know if that was intended to be left out originally, but I would imagine that we would want at least a minimum of 9,000 square feet even in Harbor Commercial for multi-family development. So I added that in, and then removed, all said districts would require an additional 1,200 square feet, and just put that R3, UR, and OR would require an additional 1,200 square feet. So then that would mean that the commercial districts, auto commercial, harbor commercial, and central business would only need 9,000 square feet to develop any number of multifamily dwelling. But remembering with this that they would still need to comply with the height requirements and the parking requirements for a multifamily dwelling.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions at this point?
Yeah, I would like to make a motion to postpone Resolution 2023-014 until we're able to have a dedicated work session on it. I think it could use a little more tweaking, and if I recall correctly, we did this work session a long time ago, and I believe it was coupled on with another topic. It'd be nice to kind of look at it, see what.
Show that directly.
Yeah.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. I think that's, be probably a good idea. It's been a bit of time that we've had an opportunity to look at this. As I was reading this again, I had some additional questions as looking at the table for CUPs needed for certain areas and other areas that are outright. That would be my recommendation at this point. Other commissioners have anything else to add?
That sounds good to me. I'd like to review it, I guess, before I...
Yeah, I don't know if you
To
guys were even
understand
on
it more.
at the time. I don't know,
guess,
it's been a bit.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, with that, Mr. Clerk, we do just vote on for the
Yeah, we'll
postponement?
be voting on the postponement.
Okay.
So voting to postpone Resolution 2023-014 until you can have a work session about it first. Is that the consensus?
Is there a requirement to have the work session with a certain time frame? I'm sorry, I just want to get a clarification on that. Do we have to have it, like immediately afterwards before we move it forward? Do we have to have a time frame specific when we make our motion?
Not necessarily.
Okay. Okay.
Be a time yet to be determined. Okay, so voting on the postponement, Mayor Hay,
Yes.
Allman,
Yes.
Charbonneau,
Yes.
Hornseth,
Yes.
and Chair Sullivan.
Yes.
Okay, that resolution has been postponed.
Okay. So then we'll move on to next. Looks like we have unfinished business, and we have none, it appears, and we have no new resolutions, it was just the one. We have other new business items, which is, we did discuss the creation of an ad hoc committee to review the compliance status of approved conditional use permits, and discuss topics for the June 20th work session, which right now is Title 15 signs and comprehensive plan updates. And I'll ask Community Development if you've got any input for that.
For the work session topics or the?
Of the
Oh,
ad hoc committee,
okay.
as well as the work session topics.
Yeah, so as far as the ad hoc committee goes, there's been a little bit of discussion in regards to that we have a lot of these CUPs out there, and that some of them have been out there for a very long time. And there has not been like any type of review that's taken place, and I think there's probably, we would agree that we probably can think of in our mind that like something that we said, like, hey, this is a condition that we'd like you to have, that we require of you in order to get this permit, but it's not taking place. And so just, I think it'd be, we've discussed a little bit, I discussed with Chair Sullivan, just in regards that we can have an ad hoc committee. It can be up to 3 commissioners can be on that, and then also community members can be on it as well. And so if that's something that you guys would be interested in, and then they have to follow the Open Meetings Act rules, where you do have to like post that meeting, and in that type of regards, and you kind of have to take, I believe, it's some notes as just to what was discussed at those things. And so, but anyway, it'd just be you going back on it and review, and I know that Courtney and Celine have been working on kind of a GIS map so that we can go look and see the permits, and that they could be reviewed by geographically on that. And so we just wanted to bring it to you guys for like a discussion point, if that's something that you guys would be interested in making happen. So.
I would, because that's one of the things that I thought would be needed. I've had a lot of people talk to me about, well, so-and-so is building this or doing this, and I understand. I sat there when they had their CUP meeting, and they're not, they got that granted, and they're not complying with the CUP. And there's certain time frames that things have to be confirmed or completed by the CUP, and I think that's by having that opportunity to review that, then we could either facilitate people doing it, or else encouraging people not to blow it off, because I know community development is so busy with all the other things going on, it's tough to police that up as well. And having some separate eyeballs on something to evaluate it and just laundry list out who's in compliance and who's not would be helpful. We could help the community development department together. I do have a couple of questions though. One, does anybody who's on the ad hoc committee, do they have to be within the city limits?
That's something that we discussed, and I still don't have a clear answer for you on that one, but I'll continue to research.
Yeah, that is kind of, because we're the one commission where you do have to, there's a requirement that you do live in city limits. And so, so as far as ad hoc committee, again, that doesn't state that, but it is kind of, there's not, kind of a gray area that we were looking at. And so.
How many people can be on the ad hoc committee?
So my experience with ad hoc committees is primarily with PATCAB's heat loop one, and they have a specific topic that they look at as funding for the heat loop. So this ad hoc committee would have their specific topic that they're looking at, and I believe the maximum number is 7.
Okay. Yeah, and it would be good if you can find out about, if they have to be in city limits and out of city limits, because that would limit who you can, ask to be on there. And I'm all for being on that do you have to have, just one person from planning and zoning? So if other folks are too busy because it's summertime and everybody's working really hard, does it have to be, do you have to have 3? Can you, and you can have less than that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
And can form the ad hoc committee, we can perhaps maybe start it at the end of this, the season, so to speak, so when people aren't working and they have a little bit more downtime, if that's at all possible.
Yep. Yeah, we could put out solicitation. We could put out solicitation for those like community members once we kind of determine whether it's inside or outside city limits of like those people that are interested, and get some names, and then organize that. And it would be really helpful to us for you guys to go and like review all those. And if you guys say, hey, this is what we need to follow up, and we can go ahead and take that and create a letter and start following up with those entities. And so it would be very helpful to us for sure.
Well, I think it would be. I think it's, because it sets the example for people, people come and, provide their plan and their organization, and they agree to everything else like this, and then they just go off into the distance, because if there's no follow-up or enforcement, I think that's problematic. That's sort of the same thing with the short-term bed and breakfast. The fact that you've got the, or short-term lodging, that stuff now is tightening down. You're finding that people were out of compliance, whether they're wittingly or unwittingly, but now you're bringing everybody into that. It makes it safer for everybody across the board.
Yes.
So what is the process? If we, I guess, do we have to vote as a group to have an ad hoc committee, or how does that go?
You could make a motion to give direction to form an ad hoc committee, I think, and I believe council has to approve it.
I don't know.
No?
That seems awfully formal for an ad hoc.
Right. Yeah, I'm not aware of it, we can find out.
Okay. yeah.
But they could still make a motion to make it go, and then we could go, for us to go investigate and bring findings back to you on what needs, and bring it
Yeah.
back to you at a
Okay.
future meeting.
Right, we'll have our marching orders to make this happen.
Yeah,
Basically.
Yeah.
Okay, is this the environment, the time, can I make it, since we're in other new business items, can I make a motion in this section? Okay, well, I'll make a motion that planning and zoning create an ad hoc committee for an evaluation of existing conditional use permits.
I'll second that.
And I guess, do we call for a vote for that next? Seems a little weird.
I can call for a vote
Yep.
unless there's any more discussion on it.
I don't know, I'm sorry.
So I think it's a fantastic idea.
Anybody else? Nope, good to go. All right, let's call for the vote.
Okay, so voting on giving direction to form an ad hoc committee to review the compliance status of approved conditional use permits. Verhey,
Yes.
Hornseth,
Yes.
Alman,
Yes.
Charbonneau,
Yes.
and Chair Sullivan.
Yes.
Okay, that motion is passed. And we will get back to you on the next steps.
More work for community development, sorry. Hopefully it'll turn around a little better. My next thing is for number 2, discussion topics of the June 20th work session. And I don't know if we should move, I don't know if it would be very difficult to move what we were having today, that we postponed, and just move that to there. I know it's, you might want to tell me if that's a consideration for that, if that'd be too hard to do Title 15, or the comprehensive plan and the current resolution. I want to move that further along. I don't want to just let it languish, because I think it's pretty super important. Can we substitute one of these for that one, so we can move this one that you had prepared for today for us to look at?
Yeah, I think that we could just do like multiple Title 15 items, and kind of just because that comprehensive plan is such a big beast that I think it would take up most of the time. And so if you'd like, we can either do like comprehensive plan next one, or make the next one all Title 15 and bring, was there any other land use issues that we've discussed?
I don't think, not, I mean, there are other items that we were wanting to discuss that we could add to it, but the sign, Title 15 signs, and then the square footage might be enough to fill
Yeah.
a whole work session.
Okay. Commissioners, what do you think about that?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
So we'll push the comprehensive plan to a further work session? Okay.
And I think honestly, you know, some of the decisions that we might make on some of these might affect the comprehensive plan in some respects, retroactively in some respects. So. Okay. Courtney, Jason, do you have anything else on this part here? No? Okay. I'll move on to the informational items and reports. Right here we have Tuesday, June 20th. Let's see. We have a planning and zoning work session. Is that correct on that? Let's see. And then July 11th is our regular meeting in the council chambers here as well. Okay. Well, we have no citizens for citizens' comments out there. Boy, it's a lively group. Well, then I'll move on to board and administration comments. Anybody have anything to offer? We're
I'd
good?
always like to thank administration, and sorry for bringing us back around and giving you a little more work.
I think, honestly, that might be. Anything? No? Sean, Brendan? Jason?
I do have one thing to say that, and I know it's come up with our meetings a little bit, but I know it's coming up, I believe it might be coming up at a council discussion as well, but there's been discussion the time in which we meet, at which we meet. And so our code says that we have work sessions at 6 p.m. and then we have regular meetings at 7 p.m. And Courtney, I think, looked up in history, and was it
7:30.
It used to be 7:30, like 2012 or something like that. They moved it, and they moved it back at 7:30. And so, anyway, I think there's some discussion that's taking place at the council level as well. And just wanted to, what I would like to see is just to have a consistency of time for all meetings and earlier. Like I don't know what you guys' schedule is, but I think like 6 o'clock would be great. If it doesn't work for you, that's okay too. But I think there is some discussion on looking at standardizing meeting times across so that we're, yeah, just less confusing. I get mixed up, and also too, it's like I think at least my mind's a little bit fresher earlier, and I know that there's been some like late city council meetings that you're out there like 11 and people are just,
Marathon sessions.
Yeah, and so, anyway, I just wanted to make you aware of that, and so if you do have opinions around that, or creative solutions around those types of things, please, yeah, let us know, or else also too, if you guys know city council members, and you can have discussions around them as well.
So they'll have to change the code then. We'll just have to do a code change of some sort. We'll have to have a public hearing for it as well. Yeah, I would totally support earlier and consistent, but then I'm retired, so.
I mean, consistency is pretty good, and
Yeah, consistency is nice.
if earlier works for administration, I'm fine with that, because you guys work really hard, so,
Yeah.
I'm happy with whatever.
Okay. But yeah, there you might see some upcoming changes
Okay.
here.
So, any of the commissioners have anything to say before we adjourn? And it's pretty quick for this one.
Just a quick clerk's note on the meeting times.
Right.
I noticed in code, PACCAB actually has the most flexibility. It says like a time and place determined by the board.
Oh, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah. They meet at noon on Wednesdays. And then, for P and Z, it says you shall meet at 7 p.m. for the meeting. So it's really set in stone.
I wonder, can we change that to as we determine? That might be a little hard, I don't know.
You
Quasi-judicial.
have to have a discussion
We'll do that.
and maybe make an ordinance to change it,
Yeah,
figure out how you want it to be worded.
okay.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll get some language.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, if nobody has anything else to say, I will go ahead and adjourn this meeting, and we'll immediately go right into the work session. So the meeting is adjourned at 7:22 hours.